Chapter 1. Chapter 1. The yacht at Marina. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the vibrant marina. The previous chapter had left Mary-Kate and Paige on the cusp of adventure, their laughter mingling with the sounds of seagulls and the gentle lapping of waves against the hull of their luxurious yacht, the Serendipity. They had just settled into their weekend getaway, a much-needed escape from the pressures of their daily lives. As the last rays of sunlight danced on the water, the promise of romance and excitement hung in the air, thick with anticipation. Mary-Kate leaned against the polished railing, her gaze sweeping over the colorful boats bobbing in the water. The marina was alive with chatter and laughter, the scent of salt and sunscreen mingling in the warm breeze. She felt a thrill of freedom, a sense of possibility that had been absent for far too long. "Can you believe we're finally doing this?" she said, turning to Paige, who was busy adjusting her oversized sunglasses, a playful smirk on her lips. "Doing what?" "Living our best lives," Paige replied, her voice teasing but her eyes sparkling with genuine excitement. "I mean, look at this place. It's like a scene from a movie." She gestured dramatically, her arms sweeping across the marina, encompassing the vibrant colors of the boats, the laughter of friends, and the distant sound of a band playing somewhere nearby. "More like a rom-com waiting to happen," Mary-Kate said, rolling her eyes but unable to suppress a smile. "Just add a handsome stranger and we're set." "Speaking of handsome strangers, where are Brad and Caitlin?" Paige asked, glancing around as if expecting them to appear at any moment. "They're late. Probably lost in their own little world," Mary-Kate replied, her tone light but her heart fluttering at the thought of Brad. He had been a constant presence in her life, a friend who had always been there, but lately, she had begun to wonder if there was something more between them. The thought sent a rush of warmth through her, mingling with the cool evening breeze. Just then, a loud splash echoed across the marina, drawing their attention. They turned to see Brad and Caitlin emerging from the water, their laughter ringing out like music. Brad's dark hair was slicked back, droplets of water glistening on his tanned skin, while Caitlin, ever the free spirit, twirled in the shallows, her laughter infectious. "Sorry we're late. You wouldn't believe the water," Brad called out, his voice booming with enthusiasm. He climbed aboard the Serendipity, shaking off water like a dog, and Mary-Kate couldn't help but admire the way his muscles flexed under the fading sunlight. "Yeah, it is like a tropical paradise out there," Caitlin chimed in, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You guys should have joined us next time," Mary-Kate said, her heart racing as Brad settled beside her, their shoulders brushing. "We were just enjoying the view." "Speaking of views, have you seen Ashley?" Brad asked, scanning the marina. "I thought she was with you guys." "Last I saw, she was flirting with that guy at the bar," Paige said, a knowing grin spreading across her face. "You know how she gets." "Let's hope she doesn't scare him off," Mary-Kate said, her voice laced with amusement. "She's got a talent for that." As if on cue, Ashley appeared at the top of the gangway, her hair tousled and a wide grin on her face. "You won't believe who I just met," she exclaimed, her excitement palpable. "He's a yacht broker, and he's got the most amazing stories about sailing around the world." "Did you get his number?" Caitlin teased, nudging her playfully. "Of course. But I'm more interested in his stories," Ashley replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "He promised to tell us all about his adventures over drinks." "Then let's get this party started," Brad said, clapping his hands together. "I'll grab the cooler." As he moved to the small galley, Mary-Kate felt a flutter of nerves. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter and the promise of adventure. But beneath the surface, a tension simmered, an unspoken question lingering in the air. What if this weekend changed everything? The sun continued its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, and Mary-Kate couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. She glanced at Paige, who was busy chatting with Caitlin, and then at Brad, who was rummaging through the cooler, his brow furrowed in concentration. The camaraderie felt familiar, yet there was an undercurrent of something more, something that made her heart race. "Hey, Mary-Kate," Brad called out, breaking her reverie. "What do you want to drink?" "Surprise me," she replied, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. As the evening wore on, the group settled into a rhythm of laughter and stories, the sound of clinking glasses mingling with the distant music from the marina. The air was thick with the scent of grilled seafood from nearby boats, and the sky transformed into a canvas of stars, twinkling like diamonds against the deepening blue. "Okay, let's play a game," Caitlin suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "How about truth or dare?" "Classic," Ashley exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "I'm in." Mary-Kate felt a rush of excitement mixed with apprehension. Truth or dare had a way of revealing secrets, and she wasn't sure she was ready for that. But as the game began, the atmosphere shifted, the playful banter turning into something more intense. "All right, Brad, truth or dare?" Caitlin asked, her eyes narrowing playfully. "Dare," he replied without hesitation, a confident grin on his face. "I dare you to kiss the person you find most attractive on this boat," Caitlin said, her tone teasing but her eyes glinting with challenge. The group erupted in laughter, and Mary-Kate's heart raced. She felt the weight of Brad's gaze on her, a mixture of challenge and curiosity. "Well, that's easy," he said, leaning closer, his voice low and teasing. "I choose Mary-Kate." The laughter faded, replaced by a charged silence. Mary-Kate's breath caught in her throat as she met his gaze, the world around them blurring into the background. The moment hung in the air, electric and alive, and she could feel the heat rising in her cheeks. "Wait, are you serious?" Paige asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and excitement. Brad leaned closer, his eyes locked onto hers, and for a heartbeat, the world around them faded away. "I've never been more serious," he said, his voice low and sincere. Mary-Kate's heart raced, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. She wanted to say yes. Chapter 2. Trouble Brews. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the deck of the Serendipity. Mary-Kate leaned against the polished railing, her heart still racing from the thrill of the day. Just hours ago, she and her friends had been filled with excitement, the promise of adventure hanging in the air like the salty breeze. But now, as the vibrant colors of the sunset faded into a deep indigo, a sense of unease settled over the group. The yacht's engine had sputtered and died, leaving them stranded at the marina, and the laughter that had echoed moments before was replaced by a tense silence. "Great. Just great," Brad muttered, running a hand through his tousled hair. He paced the deck, his frustration palpable. "We're stuck here, and we haven't even started our weekend." Caitlin, perched on the edge of a sun lounger, crossed her arms defiantly. "We can't just leave the yacht. What if something goes wrong? We need to figure out what's wrong with the engine first." Mary-Kate exchanged glances with Paige, who stood beside her, biting her lip. The tension between Brad and Caitlin was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Maybe we should just take a look at it," Mary-Kate suggested, trying to defuse the situation. "I mean, how hard can it be?" "Hard enough that we're not mechanics," Caitlin shot back, her voice sharp. "And besides, we don't even know what's wrong. It could be something serious. Or it could be something simple," Brad countered, his tone laced with impatience. "We can't just sit here and do nothing. There's an island just a short swim away. We could explore, have some fun." "Fun?" Caitlin interrupted, her eyes flashing. You think it is fun to be stranded? What if we can't get back? What if we're stuck here all weekend? Mary-Kate felt the weight of the argument pressing down on her. She glanced at Ashley, who had been quiet, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Ashley, what do you think? Mary-Kate asked, hoping to bring her friend into the conversation. Ashley turned slowly, her expression thoughtful. I think we should stay together. Whatever we decide, we need to stick as a group. We're all in this together, right? Right, Paige chimed in, her voice soft but firm. We can't let this ruin our weekend. Let's just take a breath and figure it out. As the group fell into an uneasy silence, the sound of waves lapping against the hull filled the air, mingling with the distant laughter from the marina. Mary-Kate's heart raced, not just from the tension but from the thrill of being on the cusp of something unknown. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, a mix of fear and excitement. Suddenly, a commotion broke through the air. A small, frantic figure scuttled across the deck. A turtle, its shell glistening in the fading light. It paused, blinking up at them with wide, curious eyes. What the? Brad exclaimed, his irritation momentarily forgotten as he crouched down to get a better look. Where did that come from? Caitlin laughed, the tension in her shoulders easing as she leaned forward. I think it is lost. Look at it. The turtle, seemingly oblivious to the chaos around it, continued its slow journey across the deck, leaving a trail of tiny footprints in its wake. Mary-Kate couldn't help but smile at the absurdity of the situation. Maybe it is a sign, she said, her voice light. A sign that we should just go with the flow. Or a sign that we need to get off this boat, Brad replied, still watching the turtle with a mix of amusement and annoyance. I mean, look at it. It's trying to escape. As the group chuckled, the tension began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of camaraderie. Mary-Kate felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a reminder of why she loved these weekends with her friends. But just as quickly, she felt a flicker of unease. What if this was just the calm before the storm? Okay, Caitlin said, her voice regaining its seriousness. Let's focus. We need to decide what to do. I still think we should try to fix the engine. Or we could take a quick trip to the island, Brad suggested, his eyes glinting with mischief. Just a little adventure. We'll be back before anyone even notices we're gone. Are you serious? Caitlin shot back, her tone incredulous. You want to leave the yacht? What if something happens while we're gone? Mary-Kate felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She could sense the divide between her friends growing, the tension thickening like fog. Maybe we could split up, she proposed, her voice tentative. Some of us could stay and try to fix the engine while others explore the island. That way, we're not all stuck doing one thing. Split up, Brad echoed, his brow furrowing. That sounds risky. What if something goes wrong? Or what if it is the best idea we've had all day? Paige interjected, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I mean, we're not going to get anywhere just sitting here arguing. Mary-Kate watched as the group fell into another round of debate, voices rising and falling like the tide. She felt a pang of anxiety in her chest, a sense that something was about to shift. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky darkened, and the stars began to twinkle overhead, she couldn't shake the feeling that trouble was brewing. All right, let's take a vote, Caitlin suggested, her voice cutting through the noise. Who wants to stay and fix the yacht? Mary-Kate raised her hand, glancing at Paige, who followed suit. But when she looked at Brad, he was shaking his head, his jaw set in determination. And who wants to explore the island? Caitlin continued, her eyes narrowing as she counted the hands raised. Brad's hand shot up, and Ashley hesitated before joining him. "I'm in," Ashley said, her voice steady. "I could use a little adventure." Mary-Kate felt a knot form in her stomach. But what if something goes wrong? She pressed, her heart racing. "What if we can't get back?" "Then we'll figure it out," Brad replied, his tone confident. "We're not kids anymore, Mary-Kate. We can handle this." As the group continued to bicker, Mary-Kate felt a sense of isolation creeping in. She wanted to trust her friends, to believe that everything would be fine, but the nagging feeling in her gut told her otherwise. She glanced at Paige, who seemed lost in thought, her brow furrowed. "Paige," Mary-Kate asked softly. Chapter 3. The Runaway Turtle. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the deck of the Serendipity. Mary-Kate leaned against the railing, her heart still racing from the chaos of the previous evening. The yacht's engine had sputtered to a halt, leaving them stranded at the marina, and tensions had flared among her friends. Brad's adventurous spirit clashed with Caitlin's practicality, while Ashley and Paige had exchanged worried glances, caught in the middle. Just when it seemed their weekend was doomed, a runaway turtle had scuttled onto the scene, its unexpected arrival sparking laughter and a momentary reprieve from their worries. But as they watched the little creature disappear into the underbrush, Mary-Kate felt a flicker of something more. A sense of adventure that beckoned them to follow. "Look!" Paige exclaimed, pointing toward the dock where the turtle had vanished. "Should we go after it?" "Why not?" Brad said, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "It's not like we have anything better to do." Caitlin crossed her arms, skepticism etched on her face. "You want to chase a turtle instead of fixing the yacht? That's your plan? Maybe it'll lead us to something interesting," Ashley chimed in, her voice light with excitement. "Like a hidden treasure or something." Mary-Kate felt a swell of enthusiasm at the thought. "I'm in. Let's see where it goes." With a shared glance of determination, the group descended from the yacht and followed the path the turtle had taken. The air was thick with the scent of salt and blooming jasmine, and the sound of waves lapping against the shore provided a rhythmic backdrop to their adventure. As they walked, the vibrant colors of the marina faded into the lush greens of the island, the chatter of tourists replaced by the rustle of leaves and the distant call of seabirds. "Do you think it has a name?" Paige mused, her voice playful. "I mean, it is clearly on a mission." "Shelley," Brad suggested, grinning. "It's perfect. Shelley the runaway turtle." "Shelley it is," Mary-Kate laughed, feeling lighter with each step. The tension from earlier seemed to dissipate, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. They followed the path deeper into the island, the underbrush thickening around them. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a hidden cove, its entrance framed by jagged rocks and vibrant wildflowers. The sight took their breath away. The water was a brilliant turquoise, sparkling under the sun, and the soft sound of waves crashing against the shore filled the air. "Wow," Caitlin breathed, her skepticism momentarily forgotten. "This place is incredible. Let's see if Shelley is here," Ashley said, her eyes scanning the area. "Maybe she knows something we don't." As they ventured further into the cove, Mary-Kate's gaze fell upon something half buried in the sand. She knelt down, brushing away the grains to reveal an old, weathered piece of parchment. Her heart raced as she recognized the markings. A treasure map. "Guys, look at this," she called, holding the map up for everyone to see. "What is it?" Brad asked, stepping closer. "It looks like a treasure map," Mary-Kate replied, her voice tinged with excitement. "There are markings and everything." Caitlin squinted at the parchment, her brow furrowing. "It could be a prank. Or just some old tourist gimmick. Or it could be real." Ashley interjected, her enthusiasm infectious. Imagine if we actually found something. Mary-Kate felt a thrill of possibility. We should follow it. What do we have to lose? Brad nodded, his adventurous spirit ignited. I'm in. Let's see where it leads. As they gathered around the map, Mary-Kate felt a rush of adrenaline. The promise of adventure hung in the air, mingling with the salty breeze. But as they plotted their course, a shadow flickered at the edge of the cove, drawing her attention. Hey, do you guys see that? She asked, pointing toward the trees where the underbrush seemed to shift. What? Caitlin asked, her voice laced with concern. Over there, Mary-Kate insisted, squinting into the shadows. I think someone's watching us. The group fell silent, their excitement momentarily overshadowed by a sense of unease. Brad stepped forward, his bravado faltering. Maybe it is just a deer or something. Or maybe it is that mysterious figure we saw at the marina, Paige whispered, her eyes wide. Mary-Kate's heart raced. The figure had been cloaked in shadow, their intentions unclear. She felt a knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. We should be careful. Let's just focus on the map, Caitlin suggested, her voice steady. We can deal with whatever that is later. With a collective nod, they turned their attention back to the parchment. The map was faded, but the markings were clear enough to guide them. It led deeper into the island, toward a spot marked with an X, surrounded by what appeared to be landmarks they could recognize. Okay, we need to head east, Mary-Kate said, tracing the path with her finger. If we follow the coastline, we should get there in no time. As they set off, the tension from the lurking figure lingered in the back of Mary-Kate's mind. She stole glances over her shoulder, half expecting to see the shadowy figure emerge from the trees. But the cove remained quiet, the only sounds the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant call of seabirds. The path grew narrower, winding through thick foliage and over rocky outcrops. The air was warm and fragrant, filled with the scent of wildflowers and the briny tang of the sea. Mary-Kate felt a sense of exhilaration wash over her, the thrill of adventure coursing through her veins. Do you think we'll actually find treasure? Ashley asked, her voice bubbling with excitement. Who knows? Brad replied, a grin spreading across his face. But it is the journey that counts, right? Mary-Kate smiled, feeling the camaraderie of their group strengthen with each step. But as they continued, the feeling of being watched crept back into her thoughts. She glanced back again, but the trees remained still, the shadows unyielding. After what felt like an eternity of walking, they finally reached the spot marked on the map. It was a small clearing, surrounded by towering palm trees, their fronds swaying gently in the breeze. In the center of the clearing lay a large rock, its surface worn smooth by time. This is it, Mary-Kate said, her heart pounding with anticipation. This is where the treasure should be. Let's dig. Brad exclaimed, already kneeling beside the rock, his hands eager to uncover whatever lay beneath. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. The Confused Stork. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm, golden light over the hidden cove where Mary-Kate, Paige, Brad, Caitlin, and Ashley had gathered. The air was thick with the scent of salt and wildflowers, mingling with the faint aroma of sunscreen and the lingering traces of their earlier adventure. Just moments ago, they had stumbled upon an old treasure map, igniting a spark of excitement that had momentarily overshadowed their earlier frustrations about the yacht's malfunction. But as they stood at the edge of the cove, the atmosphere shifted, and an unexpected twist awaited them. Okay, so we're really doing this? Brad asked, his voice a mix of enthusiasm and uncertainty. He held the map in one hand, the edges crinkled and worn, as if it had been waiting for them for years. Absolutely. Look at this place. Caitlin exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder as she took in the lush greenery and the shimmering water. It's like something out of a storybook. Or a horror movie, Ashley muttered under her breath, crossing her arms. She had been quiet since they found the map, her usual spark dimmed by the earlier argument about the yacht. Mary-Kate glanced at Ashley, sensing the tension that hung in the air like a thick fog. Come on, Ash. This could be the adventure we've been waiting for. Let's just follow the map and see where it leads us. Paige, ever the optimist, chimed in, and who knows? Maybe we'll find something amazing. Like gold or jewels. She twirled around, her laughter echoing off the rocky cliffs that surrounded them. Just as the group began to discuss their next steps, a loud squawking interrupted their chatter. They turned to see a stork flapping its wings wildly, its long legs tangled in a piece of rope. The bird looked utterly bewildered, its beady eyes darting around as if searching for something. Or someone. What the heck? Brad said, his brow furrowing. Is that a stork? Looks like it, Caitlin replied, her curiosity piqued. But what's it doing here? The stork, in its frantic flapping, suddenly dropped a large bundle it had been carrying. The group gasped as a small, plush cow tumbled onto the sandy shore, landing with a soft thud. Is that a cow? Ashley asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and amusement. Maybe it is a delivery. Paige suggested, giggling. You know, like the stork is delivering a baby cow. Or a baby, Brad added, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Maybe it is confused about what it is supposed to deliver. The stork, seemingly oblivious to their laughter, continued to flap its wings, now attempting to pick up the plush cow again. It squawked in frustration, its long neck stretching toward the ground, but every time it got close, it would trip over the rope binding its legs. Someone should help it, Caitlin said, her voice softening. It looks really lost. Or really confused, Ashley replied, rolling her eyes. Like someone else I know. She shot a pointed look at Brad, who was still chuckling at the stork's antics. Hey, I'm not confused. Brad protested, though his laughter faded as he caught Ashley's gaze. I just think it is funny. Funny. Or sad. Ashley shot back, her tone sharper than intended. It's just a bird trying to do its job, and it is failing miserably. Maybe it is a metaphor for us, Mary-Kate interjected, trying to lighten the mood. We're all a bit lost right now, aren't we? Speak for yourself, Brad said, crossing his arms defensively. I know exactly what I want. Do you? Ashley challenged, her eyes narrowing. Because it seems like you're just following the crowd. Before Brad could respond, the stork finally managed to free itself from the rope, but not without sending the plush cow flying into the air. The group watched in stunned silence as the cow soared, twisting and turning before landing squarely in the middle of their treasure map. Great, now we have a cow on our map, Caitlin said, stifling a laugh. Maybe it is a sign, Paige suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Like, follow the cow to find the treasure. Or maybe it is just a distraction, Ashley muttered, her arms still crossed. As the stork landed awkwardly beside them, it seemed to regain its composure, tilting its head as if assessing the situation. It squawked again, this time more softly, and took a tentative step toward the group. Okay, let's figure this out, Mary-Kate said, kneeling down to examine the map. Where does the cow fit in? Right here, Brad pointed, his finger hovering over a spot marked with an X. It's right in the middle of the treasure path. Maybe it is a clue, Caitlin suggested, her excitement bubbling over. What if we have to find something related to the cow? Like a barn? Paige laughed, her eyes twinkling. Or a field of flowers. Or a baby, Brad said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. You know, like the stork was trying to deliver. Ashley rolled her eyes again, but Mary-Kate could see the corners of her mouth twitching. Okay, let's not get too carried away. We need to focus on the map. As they huddled closer, the stork wandered among them, pecking at the sand and occasionally glancing up, as if waiting for someone to acknowledge its presence. Maybe it is trying to tell us something, Caitlin said, her voice thoughtful. Like, we need to pay attention to what's right in front of us. Or maybe it just wants to be left alone, Ashley replied, her tone still laced with sarcasm. Come on, Ash, Brad said, his voice softer now. It's just a bird. Let's not take it out on the stork. The tension between them hung thick in the air, but as they continued to study the map, the stork suddenly flapped its wings again, startling them. It took off, soaring above their heads, and then, in a surprising twist, it dropped something shiny from its beak. What was that? Paige exclaimed, her eyes wide as she pointed to the glimmering object now lying in the sand. Mary-Kate rushed over, her heart racing as she picked up the small, silver key. It's a key, she announced, holding it up for everyone to see. Where do you think it goes? Caitlin asked, her excitement renewed. Maybe it unlocks the treasure. Brad suggested, his earlier tension forgotten as he leaned closer to inspect the key. Chapter 5. The adventure begins. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm, golden glow over the marina as Mary-Kate, Paige, Brad, Caitlin, and Ashley stood huddled around the treasure map they had discovered in the hidden cove. The previous chapter had been a whirlwind of unexpected events. A malfunctioning yacht, a runaway turtle named Shelley, and a stork delivering a cow to a baby. Now, with the promise of adventure crackling in the air, they were ready to embark on a treasure hunt that would test their friendship and reveal secrets they had kept buried. Okay, everyone, Mary-Kate said, her voice steady and confident, this is it. We're going to find this treasure. She pointed to the map, her finger tracing the faded lines that led to an X, marked in the center of the island. Caitlin, you'll be our skeptic, keeping us grounded. Brad, you're our navigator. Paige, you're on lookout duty. Ashley, you're with me. Let's make this happen. Caitlin crossed her arms, a skeptical frown creasing her brow. And what if this is all just a wild goose chase? We could be wasting our time when we could be fixing the yacht. Or we could be discovering something amazing, Brad chimed in, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Come on, Caitlin. Where's your sense of adventure? Right here, she replied, tapping her temple. But I also have a sense of reality. Let's just see where this takes us, Paige said, her voice light and encouraging. Besides, it is not like we have any other options right now. With a collective nod, they set off, the map clutched tightly in Mary-Kate's hands. The path was narrow and winding, flanked by dense foliage that rustled softly in the breeze. The scent of saltwater mingled with the earthy aroma of damp leaves, invigorating their spirits as they ventured deeper into the island. As they walked, the sound of waves crashing against the shore provided a rhythmic backdrop to their chatter. Brad and Ashley walked side by side, their shoulders brushing occasionally, sending sparks of tension through the air. Mary-Kate noticed the glances they exchanged, the way Ashley's cheeks flushed when Brad cracked a joke. It was a familiar dance, one she had seen play out before, but today it felt charged with something more. Okay, everyone, listen up. Mary-Kate called, halting the group. According to the map, we need to solve this riddle to proceed. She cleared her throat, reading aloud. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I? Silence fell over the group as they pondered the riddle. Caitlin rolled her eyes, clearly unimpressed. Great, Now we're playing a game of 20 questions. Come on, Caitlin, Paige urged, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. It's fun. Think about it. I don't know, maybe it is a ghost. Ashley suggested, her voice light and teasing. Or an echo, Brad chimed in, a grin spreading across his face. That's it. It's an echo. Mary-Kate's heart raced at the thought of their first challenge being solved. Yes. An echo. We're on the right track. She felt a surge of pride for her friends, their camaraderie shining through the tension that had lingered since the yacht's breakdown. As they pressed on, the path began to incline, leading them to a rocky outcrop that overlooked the ocean. The view was breathtaking, the water shimmering like 1,000 diamonds under the sun. But as they stood there, taking it all in, dark clouds began to gather on the horizon, casting a shadow over their adventure. Guys. Caitlin's voice broke through the moment. I think we should head back. That doesn't look good. Just a little longer, Mary-Kate urged, her adventurous spirit refusing to be dampened. We're so close to the treasure. Yeah, but we're not close to shelter, Caitlin countered, her voice rising with concern. We need to be smart about this. Before Mary-Kate could respond, a gust of wind whipped through the trees, sending leaves swirling around them. The air grew heavy, charged with an impending storm. The group exchanged worried glances, the thrill of adventure suddenly overshadowed by the threat of nature's fury. Let's find somewhere to take cover, Brad suggested, his tone serious now. There's a cave over there. He pointed to a dark opening in the rock face, partially hidden by vines and foliage. Lead the way, Mary-Kate said, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. They hurried toward the cave, the wind howling around them as the first drops of rain began to fall. Inside the cave, the air was cool and damp, the sound of raindrops echoing off the stone walls. They huddled together, their breaths mingling in the confined space. The storm raged outside, the wind howling like a wild beast, but within the cave, they found a strange sense of safety. Looks like we're stuck here for a while, Ashley said, her voice barely above a whisper. She glanced at Brad, who was leaning against the wall, his expression contemplative. Maybe we should take this time to figure out what's really going on, he said, his gaze shifting to Mary-Kate. There's something about this map and the yacht's owner that doesn't sit right with me. What do you mean? Mary-Kate asked, her curiosity piqued. I overheard something at the marina, Brad confessed, his voice low. The yacht used to belong to a treasure hunter. They say he went missing years ago, searching for something big. Maybe this map is connected to that. Caitlin's eyes widened. So you're saying we might be following in the footsteps of someone who disappeared? Exactly, Brad replied, his tone serious. And if that's the case, we need to be careful. We don't know what we're getting ourselves into. Mary-Kate felt a chill run down her spine. The thrill of adventure had suddenly morphed into something darker, a sense of foreboding that hung in the air like the storm outside. We can't turn back now, she said, her voice firm. We've come too far. But what if we're not ready for this? Caitlin interjected, her skepticism returning. What if we're just digging ourselves deeper into trouble? Or what if we find something incredible? Paige countered, her eyes shining with excitement. We can't let fear hold us back. The tension in the cave thickened, each friend grappling with their own fears and desires. Mary-Kate felt the weight of their emotions pressing down on her, a mixture of hope and anxiety swirling in the air. She knew they had to make a decision, and fast. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Secrets Unveiled. The cave was a world unto itself, a sanctuary of shadows and whispers. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and salt, a reminder of the ocean just beyond the rock walls. Mary-Kate, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation, led the way deeper into the darkness, the flickering light of their flashlights casting ghostly shapes on the jagged walls. Behind her, the rest of the group followed, their faces illuminated by the soft glow, revealing expressions that danced between awe and anxiety. Just moments ago, they had stumbled upon a trove of artifacts that spoke of a love story long forgotten, one that intertwined with the very essence of their adventure. The remnants of a bygone era. Faded letters, delicate jewelry, and a weathered journal hinted at a treasure hidden away by the yacht's previous owner, a woman whose passion had once ignited the seas. The thrill of discovery surged through Mary-Kate, but it was laced with an undercurrent of urgency. They had to find the treasure before the mysterious figure lurking outside caught up with them. "Look at this!" Caitlin exclaimed, her voice echoing slightly in the confined space. She held up a tarnished locket, its intricate design barely visible beneath layers of grime. This must have belonged to her. Can you imagine the stories it could tell? Or the secrets it holds, Brad added, his brow furrowed as he examined the journal. If this is connected to the treasure, we need to figure out what it says. Mary-Kate stepped closer, peering over Brad's shoulder. The pages were yellowed and fragile, filled with elegant script that seemed to pulse with life. "What does it say?" she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's a love letter," Brad replied, his tone shifting from curiosity to reverence. "She wrote about meeting someone here, someone who changed everything for her. It's beautiful, but also heartbreaking." Ashley, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "What if this treasure is more than just gold or jewels? What if it is about love? About finding something real?" The group fell silent, the weight of her words settling in the air like a thick fog. Each of them had come to this adventure seeking something. Freedom, excitement, perhaps even love. But now, standing in the dim light of the cave, they were confronted with the reality that their journey was about more than just treasure. It was about the connections they forged along the way. "Let's keep looking," Mary-Kate said, her voice steadying as she took a deep breath. "There has to be more clues. We can't let this moment slip away." As they continued to explore the cave, the atmosphere shifted. The thrill of discovery was tinged with an unsettling awareness of the figure outside, the one who had been watching them since they arrived at the marina. Mary-Kate felt a shiver run down her spine, a sense of being hunted. She glanced back at the entrance, half expecting to see a shadow lurking just beyond the threshold. "Do you think we should head back?" Ashley asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What if that person is dangerous?" "We can't leave without knowing what's here," Caitlin insisted, her skepticism giving way to determination. "We're so close." "Let's split up," Brad suggested, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We can cover more ground that way. Just stay within earshot, okay?" Mary-Kate hesitated, a knot forming in her stomach. "Are you sure that's a good idea? What if something happens?" "Nothing will happen," Brad reassured her, his confidence infectious. "We'll be fine. Just call out if you need us." With a reluctant nod, Mary-Kate agreed, and the group dispersed into the shadows, each taking a flashlight and venturing into different corners of the cave. The air grew cooler as she moved deeper, the sound of dripping water echoing around her. She felt a mix of exhilaration and fear, her heart pounding in her chest as she navigated the rocky terrain. As she turned a corner, she stumbled upon a small alcove, its walls adorned with faded paintings that depicted scenes of love and longing. The colors had dulled over time, but the emotions captured within them were palpable. Mary-Kate felt drawn to one painting in particular. A woman standing on a cliff, gazing out at the sea, her expression a blend of hope and despair. "What are you searching for?" A voice suddenly broke through the silence, causing Mary-Kate to jump. She spun around, her flashlight beam landing on the figure of Brad, who had crept up behind her. "Just looking," she replied, her heart racing. "This place is incredible." Brad stepped closer, his eyes scanning the artwork. "It really is. It's like we're stepping into someone else's story." Mary-Kate felt a warmth spread through her at his words, a connection that had been simmering beneath the surface for too long. "Do you think we'll find the treasure?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think we'll find something even more valuable," he said, his gaze locking onto hers. "Something that could change everything." Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed from the entrance of the cave, followed by a low, menacing growl. Mary-Kate's heart dropped as she exchanged a panicked glance with Brad. "What was that?" she breathed. "I don't know, but we need to get back to the others," he said, urgency lacing his tone. They hurried back through the cave, the darkness closing in around them. As they reached the main chamber, they found Caitlin and Ashley huddled together, their faces pale with fear. "What happened?" Mary-Kate asked, her voice trembling. "There's someone out there," Caitlin whispered, her eyes wide. "I saw a shadow moving near the entrance." "Did you see who it was?" Brad pressed, scanning the cave for any signs of danger. "No, but it felt wrong," Ashley added, her voice shaking. "We should leave now." Mary-Kate's heart raced as she glanced toward the entrance, the weight of their discovery suddenly overshadowed by the looming threat outside. "We can't just leave. We need to find the treasure first. It could change our lives." "Are you serious?" Caitlin exclaimed, her frustration boiling over. "We're in danger. This isn't just some game anymore." "I know it is not a game." Mary-Kate shot back, her voice rising. "But we can't let fear dictate our choices. We've come too far. Maybe we should just go," Ashley suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. "We can come back later." "No," Brad interjected, stepping forward. "We're not leaving without knowing what's at stake. We need to stick together and find the treasure." The tension in the air was palpable, each of them grappling with their own fears and desires. Chapter 7. The Chase. The air was thick with tension as Mary-Kate, Paige, Brad, Caitlin, and Ashley emerged from the cave, their hearts still racing from the revelations they had uncovered. The storm had passed, leaving behind a damp chill that clung to their skin, but the real storm was brewing within their group. The mysterious figure they had spotted earlier was no longer just a shadow lurking in the distance. He was a tangible threat, a dark silhouette against the backdrop of the moonlit island. As they stepped into the clearing, the rustling of leaves and the distant sound of waves crashing against the shore filled the silence, amplifying their unease. "Did you see him?" Caitlin whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Her eyes darted around, scanning the tree line as if expecting the figure to leap out at any moment. "Yeah, I saw him," Brad replied, his jaw clenched. "He's been following us since we left the marina. We need to move now." Mary-Kate felt a surge of adrenaline course through her veins. "We can't just run blindly. We need a plan." She glanced at the treasure map, its edges crinkled and damp from their earlier escapades. "If we can get to the other side of the island, we might lose him in the thick brush. Or we could lead him right to the treasure," Caitlin countered, her skepticism rising like the tide. "What if he's after the same thing we are? Then we'll have to outsmart him," Ashley said, her voice steady despite the fear flickering in her eyes. "We can't let him ruin this for us." With a shared look of determination, the group set off into the dense forest, the underbrush crackling beneath their feet. The scent of wet earth and pine filled the air, grounding them even as their hearts raced. Mary-Kate led the way, her instincts kicking in as she navigated the narrow path, her mind racing with thoughts of the treasure and the danger that lurked behind them. As they plunged deeper into the woods, the sound of footsteps echoed behind them, quickening their pace. Brad fell into step beside Ashley, their shoulders brushing against each other, igniting a spark that neither of them could ignore. The tension between them was palpable, a mix of fear and unspoken feelings that had been simmering beneath the surface. "Are you okay?" Brad asked, glancing sideways at Ashley. Her face was pale, but her eyes shone with determination. "I will be once we're out of here," she replied, her voice steady. "But I'm more worried about you. You're the one who's been acting all brave and heroic." "Someone has to be," he said, a hint of a smile breaking through his worry. "Besides, I can't let you get hurt." Ashley's heart fluttered at his words, but before she could respond, a loud crack echoed through the trees, sending a jolt of fear through the group. They all froze, their breaths hitching in their throats. "Did you hear that?" Paige whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "Keep moving," Mary-Kate urged, her voice firm. "We can't stop now." They pressed on, the forest growing denser and darker around them. The moonlight barely penetrated the thick canopy, casting eerie shadows that danced along the ground. The sounds of the island enveloped them. The rustling of leaves, the distant call of a night bird, and the ever-present crashing of waves against the shore. As they navigated through the underbrush, Brad and Ashley found themselves falling behind, their pace slowing as they exchanged glances filled with unspoken words. "Brad," Ashley began, her voice barely above a whisper. Shish," he interrupted, holding up a hand. "I think he's getting closer." They both turned, straining to hear over the pounding of their hearts. The sound of footsteps was unmistakable now, a steady rhythm that sent chills down Ashley's spine. "Let's hide," Brad suggested, pulling her behind a large tree trunk. They pressed against the rough bark, their bodies close, the heat radiating between them almost overwhelming. "Do you think he saw us?" Ashley asked, her breath hitching as she felt the warmth of his body next to hers. "I don't know," Brad replied, his voice low and urgent. "But we can't stay here for long." As they waited, the tension in the air thickened, charged with unacknowledged feelings. Brad's heart raced, not just from fear of the figure pursuing them but from the closeness of Ashley. He could feel her breath against his skin, the way her body trembled slightly, and it ignited something deep within him. "Ashley," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need you to know." Before he could finish, a shadow darted past them, and they both froze, their eyes wide. The figure was close, too close. "Go," Mary-Kate's voice rang out from somewhere ahead, snapping them back to reality. "We have to keep moving." Brad and Ashley exchanged a quick glance, and without another word, they bolted after the others, adrenaline propelling them forward. The forest blurred around them, the trees becoming a chaotic swirl of green and brown as they ran. "Where are we going?" Caitlin shouted, her voice laced with panic. "To the cliffs," Mary-Kate called back. "We can lose him there." The path narrowed, and the underbrush clawed at their legs as they pushed through. The sound of crashing waves grew louder, a constant reminder of the danger that awaited them at the edge of the island. As they reached the cliffs, the moonlight illuminated the rocky outcroppings, casting long shadows that danced along the ground. Mary-Kate skidded to a halt, her breath coming in quick gasps. "We need to find a way down to the beach." "Are you crazy?" Caitlin exclaimed, her eyes wide with fear. "What if he follows us? Then we'll have the ocean at our backs," Mary-Kate replied, her voice steady. "We can't let him catch us." Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed behind them, closer than before. The figure was gaining on them, and panic surged through the group. "Go," Brad shouted, shoving Ashley forward. I'll hold him off. No, Ashley cried, grabbing his arm. You can't. We need to stick together. But Brad was already moving, determination etched on his face. Just go. I'll catch up. With a final, desperate look, Ashley turned and sprinted toward the edge of the cliff, her heart pounding in her chest. The others followed, fear propelling them forward. As they reached the precipice, the waves crashed violently against the rocks below, sending sprays of saltwater into the air. Mary-Kate turned back, her eyes wide with horror as she saw the figure emerge from the trees, his face obscured by shadows. Jump! She shouted. Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Unexpected allies. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the dense foliage of the island. Mary-Kate, Paige, Brad, Caitlin, and Ashley had narrowly escaped the clutches of the mysterious figure who had been stalking them since they set foot on the island. Their hearts still raced from the adrenaline of the chase, but now they faced a new dilemma. The treasure they sought was still out there, and they needed help. Felix, the treasure hunter they had encountered in the forest, stood before them, his rugged features illuminated by the fading light. He had a confident air about him, a mix of charm and danger that made Mary-Kate's heart flutter against her will. As they caught their breath, the group exchanged wary glances, unsure of whether to trust this newcomer. Look, I know you're all a bit on edge, Felix began, his voice smooth like the gentle lapping of waves against the shore. But I have information about the treasure you're after. I can help you find it. Why should we trust you? Caitlin crossed her arms, her skepticism evident. You could be leading us into a trap. Felix shrugged, his expression unflinching. You're right. I could be, but I'm not. I've been searching for this treasure for years, and I know the island better than anyone. We can either work together or waste time running from shadows. Mary-Kate felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She glanced at her friends, their faces a mix of curiosity and caution. What do you know? She asked, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. Felix stepped closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. The treasure is hidden in a cave not far from here. It's protected by a series of puzzles and traps, but I've deciphered some of the clues. If we combine our knowledge, we can get to it before anyone else does. Brad shifted his weight, glancing at Ashley, who seemed lost in thought. What do you think, Ash? He asked, his tone softer than usual. Should we give him a chance? Ashley's gaze flickered between Felix and Brad, a storm of emotions brewing in her eyes. I don't know. It feels risky. But, if he really knows where the treasure is. Her voice trailed off, and Mary-Kate could sense the tension in the air, thick and electric. Let's hear him out, Paige finally said, her adventurous spirit shining through. We're already in this deep. What's the worst that could happen? With a reluctant nod from Caitlin, the group agreed to team up with Felix. As they walked deeper into the island, the air grew thick with the scent of salt and damp earth, the sounds of rustling leaves and distant waves creating a symphony of nature that both calmed and excited them. Felix led the way, his confident strides cutting through the underbrush. The first clue is a riddle, he explained, glancing back at the group. It's inscribed on a stone tablet near the cave entrance. If we can solve it, we'll gain access to the treasure. What's the riddle? Mary-Kate asked, her curiosity piqued. Felix smirked, his eyes glinting with mischief. It goes like this. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I? Single quote. The group fell silent, each member lost in thought. Mary-Kate felt a spark of recognition, her mind racing through possibilities. An echo. She exclaimed, the answer spilling from her lips before she could second-guess herself. Felix nodded, impressed. Exactly. The cave entrance will reveal itself once we say the word aloud. As they approached the cave, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew cooler, and the sound of the waves faded into an eerie silence. Mary Kate's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of excitement and trepidation. She could feel Felix's presence beside her, his energy both alluring and unsettling. "Are you ready?" Felix asked, his gaze locked onto Mary Kate's. There was an intensity in his eyes that made her breath hitch. "Ready as we'll ever be," she replied, forcing a smile despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. They stood before the cave entrance, a gaping maw of darkness that seemed to beckon them closer. "On three," Felix said, his voice steady. 1, 2, 3. Echo. They shouted in unison, their voices bouncing off the cave walls. The ground trembled slightly, and with a low rumble, the entrance shifted, revealing a narrow passageway illuminated by a faint, otherworldly glow. "Let's go," Felix urged, stepping into the cave with a confidence that both inspired and unnerved Mary Kate. The group followed, the cool air wrapping around them like a shroud as they ventured deeper into the unknown. Inside, the cave was a labyrinth of rock formations and shimmering crystals. The walls glistened with moisture, reflecting the light in a kaleidoscope of colors. Mary Kate's heart raced as they navigated the winding paths, the thrill of discovery mingling with the tension of uncertainty. "Stay close," Brad said, his protective instincts kicking in as he walked beside Ashley. Mary Kate noticed the way he glanced at her, a flicker of concern in his eyes that made her stomach twist. She couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy as she watched him interact with Ashley, their chemistry undeniable. "Here," Felix called, stopping in front of a large stone slab adorned with intricate carvings. "This is the next clue." The group gathered around, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the crystals. Felix traced his fingers over the carvings, revealing a series of symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. "We need to decipher this before we can move forward." Caitlin leaned in, squinting at the symbols. "It looks like a map," she said, her skepticism giving way to intrigue. "But what do these markings mean?" Felix's brow furrowed as he studied the slab. "They represent different elements. Earth, water, fire, and air. We need to figure out how they connect to the treasure." Mary Kate felt a surge of determination. "What if we think about the riddle? Each element could represent a step we need to take." "Good thinking," Felix replied, a hint of admiration in his voice. "Let's break it down." As they worked together, the atmosphere shifted. The tension that had hung over them began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of camaraderie. Mary Kate found herself drawn to Felix's passion, his enthusiasm infectious as they pieced together the clues. But as they deciphered the symbols, Mary Kate couldn't shake the feeling of jealousy that simmered beneath the surface. She caught glimpses of Brad and Ashley sharing quiet smiles, their connection deepening with each passing moment. Chapter 9. The final clue. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm, golden glow over the hidden lagoon. The air was thick with the scent of salt and blooming jasmine, a fragrant reminder of the adventure that had brought Mary Kate, Paige, Brad, Caitlin, Ashley, and Felix to this moment. Just hours earlier, they had deciphered the final clue from the treasure map, leading them to this secluded paradise. The thrill of discovery mingled with the tension that had been building among them, a palpable energy that crackled like the distant thunder of an approaching storm. "Are you sure this is the right spot?" Caitlin asked, her brow furrowed as she scanned the shoreline. The waves lapped gently against the rocks, a soothing rhythm that belied the chaos of their journey. The clue was pretty vague. Mary Kate, standing at the edge of the water, held the map tightly in her hands. "It has to be the hidden lagoon," is the only place that fits the description. Plus, the landmarks match. She pointed to a cluster of palm trees that swayed gently in the breeze, their silhouettes casting long shadows on the sand. Right there, just like it says. Felix stepped closer, his presence both reassuring and unnerving. If we're going to find this treasure, we need to dig right here, he said, kneeling down and brushing aside the sand with his hands. The clue mentioned something about the heart of the island. This must be it. Brad, who had been pacing nervously, finally stopped and joined them. All right then, let's get to it. We don't have all day. His voice was laced with urgency, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of excitement that mirrored the others' anticipation. As they began to dig, the atmosphere shifted. Each scoop of sand felt like a step closer to uncovering not just the treasure, but the truths they had been skirting around for days. Mary-Kate's heart raced as she glanced at Felix, who was working diligently beside her. There was an undeniable chemistry between them, a spark that ignited every time their eyes met. But with each passing moment, she could feel the weight of her friend's gazes, particularly Brad's, who was digging furiously, his jaw set in determination. Do you think it'll really change our lives? Ashley asked, her voice barely above a whisper as she dug beside Caitlin. I mean, what if it is just a bunch of old coins or something? Or a curse, Caitlin added with a teasing smirk, but her eyes betrayed her skepticism. You know, like in those movies. Let's hope it is not a curse, Brad said, chuckling nervously. I'm not ready to deal with ghosts just yet. The laughter that followed was light, but it quickly faded as the reality of their situation settled in. They were on the brink of something monumental, and the air was thick with unspoken words. As they dug deeper, the tension among them grew, each person wrestling with their own feelings. Mary-Kate paused, wiping the sweat from her brow. Hey, can we take a break for a second? She looked around at her friends, her heart pounding. I think we need to talk about what's been happening between us. Like what? Brad asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Like everything, she said, her gaze shifting between Brad and Felix. We've been through so much together, and I feel like we're all dancing around our feelings. Ashley nodded, her expression serious. I think we need to be honest with each other. This treasure hunt has brought up a lot of stuff. Yeah, Caitlin chimed in, her tone more earnest than usual. We can't just ignore it. We're friends, and we owe it to each other to be real. Felix looked at Mary-Kate, his blue eyes searching hers. I'm all for honesty. But what exactly do you want to say? Mary-Kate took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. I think I have feelings for someone here. She glanced at Brad, then quickly at Felix. And I'm not sure how to navigate that without hurting anyone. Brad's expression shifted, a flicker of hurt crossing his face before he masked it with a smile. Well, I guess we're all in the same boat then. I've been feeling something too, but I didn't know if it was just the adrenaline or something more. Ashley's eyes widened. Wait, you mean? Yeah, Brad interrupted, his voice steady despite the tension. I like you, Mary-Kate. I have for a while now. The admission hung in the air, heavy and charged. Mary-Kate's heart raced, a mix of exhilaration and dread. She had hoped for this moment, yet now that it was here, she felt trapped between her feelings for Brad and the undeniable connection she shared with Felix. Felix's expression darkened slightly, but he quickly masked it with a smile. Well, that's brave of you, Brad. But I think we all know there's something special between Mary-Kate and me too. His gaze was steady, unwavering, as he turned to Mary-Kate. I don't want to put you in a position where you have to choose. But I can't ignore what's happening between us. Mary-Kate felt her heart twist painfully. I didn't mean to create this rift, she said softly, her voice trembling. I care about both of you, but I don't know what to do. Caitlin stepped forward, her voice gentle yet firm. Maybe it is not about choosing right now. Maybe it is about being honest with ourselves and each other. We're all feeling something, and it is okay to explore that. Explore. Brad echoed, his tone incredulous. You mean like a group date or something? Not exactly, Caitlin replied, rolling her eyes. But we can't ignore the fact that we're all in this together. We need to figure out how to move forward without letting this treasure tear us apart. The group fell silent, each person lost in their thoughts. The tension was palpable, a tightrope stretched between them, ready to snap at any moment. Just then, a loud clang echoed from the hole they had been digging, breaking the heavy silence. What was that? Ashley exclaimed, her eyes wide with surprise. Mary-Kate knelt down, brushing away the sand to reveal a weathered chest, its surface adorned with intricate carvings. I think we found it, she whispered, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and dread. Felix grinned, his earlier tension forgotten in the thrill of discovery. Let's open it. As they gathered around the chest, Mary-Kate felt a surge of hope. Maybe this treasure would bring them closer together, or perhaps it would unravel everything. With trembling hands, she reached for the latch, her heart pounding in her chest. On 3, Brad said, his voice steady. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Love and Treasure. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the tranquil waters of the lagoon. The air was thick with the scent of salt and blooming jasmine, a fragrant reminder of the adventure that had brought Mary-Kate, Paige, and their friends to this moment. Just moments ago, they had unearthed a treasure chest, but instead of gold and jewels, they found a collection of love letters and artifacts that whispered tales of passion and longing. The revelation had left them breathless, their hearts racing not from the thrill of riches, but from the deeper connections they had forged along the way. As the echoes of their laughter faded into the gentle lapping of the waves, Mary-Kate glanced around at her friends. Brad stood beside Ashley, their fingers intertwined, while Caitlin leaned against a nearby rock, her brow furrowed in thought. Felix, the enigmatic treasure hunter, was examining the letters with a mix of reverence and curiosity. The atmosphere was charged, a palpable tension hanging in the air as they processed the significance of what they had discovered. Can you believe it? Brad finally broke the silence, his voice tinged with disbelief. All this time, we were chasing after something we thought was material, and it turns out to be this. He gestured to the chest, his eyes sparkling with a mix of wonder and realization. It's beautiful, Ashley said softly, her gaze fixed on the delicate parchment. These letters. They're like a window into someone else's life. Their love story. She looked up at Brad, her expression softening. It makes you think about what really matters, doesn't it? Caitlin crossed her arms, her skepticism momentarily forgotten. I suppose it does. But what about the treasure? What about the adventure? We came here for something tangible, something we could hold on to. Mary-Kate stepped forward, her heart swelling with a sense of purpose. Maybe this is the treasure we were meant to find. Love, friendship, and the stories that connect us. We've all grown so much during this journey. She glanced at Felix, who was still engrossed in the letters. And we wouldn't have done it without each other. Felix looked up, his dark eyes meeting Mary-Kate's. You're right. These letters are more than just words. They're a testament to the power of love. They remind us that the greatest treasures are often hidden in the connections we make. He paused, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his voice. I've spent so long chasing after material wealth, but I think I've been missing the point. The group fell silent, each lost in their thoughts, the weight of their discoveries settling over them like a warm blanket. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, and the lagoon shimmered like a dream. "Let's read one," Paige suggested, her eyes bright with excitement. "I want to hear what these lovers had to say." Mary-Kate nodded, her heart racing at the thought of sharing this intimate moment. "Okay, let's see." She reached into the chest and pulled out a letter, its edges worn and yellowed with age. She unfolded it carefully, the faint scent of ink and paper wafting up to meet her. "My dearest Eleanor," she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Every moment without you feels like an eternity. The stars remind me of your eyes, and the moon whispers your name in the night." As Mary-Kate read, the words seemed to weave a spell around them, drawing them closer together. The letter spoke of longing, of stolen kisses beneath the stars, and of a love that transcended time. With each line, the group felt the weight of their own feelings pressing against the surface, threatening to spill over. When she finished, the silence was thick with unspoken emotions. Caitlin broke it first, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's beautiful. It makes me think of everything we've been through together." Brad shifted closer to Ashley, his fingers tightening around hers. "Yeah, it is like we've all been on our own journey of discovery. I never expected to feel so connected to all of you." Ashley smiled, her cheeks flushing. "I think we've all learned something important about ourselves and each other. It's not just about the treasure. It is about the bonds we've formed." Felix cleared his throat, his gaze lingering on Mary-Kate. "I didn't expect to find this kind of connection either. I came here for the treasure, but I think I've found something far more valuable." His eyes sparkled with sincerity, and Mary-Kate felt her heart skip a beat. Just then, a rustling sound broke the moment, and they all turned to see the mysterious figure from the marina emerging from the trees. His presence was imposing, casting a shadow over their newfound joy. The tension in the air shifted, and Mary-Kate felt a chill run down her spine. "Looks like I found you after all," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "I hope you're not planning to keep that treasure for yourselves. What do you want?" Brad stepped forward, his protective instincts kicking in. "We've already dealt with you once." The figure smirked, his eyes glinting with mischief. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to make a deal." He gestured toward the chest. "Those letters are worth a fortune to the right collector. I can help you turn them into something real. Money, fame, whatever you desire." Caitlin scoffed, crossing her arms defiantly. "You think we'd sell out our adventure for a quick buck? This is about so much more than that." "Exactly," Mary-Kate added, her voice steady. "These letters represent something far more valuable than money. They're a reminder of love and connection, and we're not going to let you take that away from us." The figure's expression darkened, and for a moment, the tension was palpable. "You're making a mistake. You don't understand the value of what you have." "Maybe you're the one who doesn't understand," Felix interjected, stepping forward. "These letters belong to the past, and they're not for sale. They're a part of our journey now." The figure hesitated, his bravado faltering as he glanced at the group. "You really think you can just walk away from this? You're in over your heads." Mary-Kate felt a surge of determination. "We've faced challenges together, and we've come out stronger. We're not afraid of you or what you represent. This treasure is ours, and we're keeping it." With that, the group stood united, their bond stronger than ever. The figure's expression shifted from anger to something resembling respect, and he took a step back, his shoulders slumping slightly. "Fine. Keep your treasure. But don't say I didn't warn you." As he turned to leave, the tension in the air began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of relief and triumph.